I'd like to welcome Dr. Laurra Ellis, who has been a pioneer for many years in medical aesthetics. Dr. Ellis, thank you for agreeing to do this podcast.
My pleasure.
So, can you tell us a little bit how you got into medical aesthetics?
Sure. Yeah. So, gosh, it's 2025. So almost 25 years ago, as a general surgeon, and, working in the hospital as most of us do, I decided to exit the hospital system and open my own medical practice, private practice with a procedure room. And at that time, it was the infancy stages of endovenous ablation of the saphenous. Yeah. And so I was really one of the first to do that in the United States. And so that was, I built my practice around that it was actually 2002 at the time. And so I hung that shingle and, went out to my fellow practitioners and said, "Hey, I'm doing this new procedure. It's really amazing. Your patients don't have to have venous strippings anymore." And so interestingly, though, within the first year of opening that practice, and it grew pretty rapidly at the time, and my patients thought, "Wow, I feel so much better. My legs look so much better." Even though that's really considered a medical condition, it does have a nice aesthetic outcome. And so that's a benefit. And so they realized that, and they thought, what else can you do for me that can help me look and feel better? And in my residency, I had done a good bit of plastic and reconstructive surgery and head and neck surgery. So I knew the anatomy and I knew many of the procedures, including the energy-based treatments and the injectables. And so after trying to refer those patients to the local dermatologists who really weren't doing a lot of that at the time, I decided, well, what the heck, I'll do it myself. I added that to my practice in 2005. I went full bore into it. So I had these two arms of my practice, right? I had the venous surgery and, of course, spider veins as well, and then the full aesthetic arm. And this, they both grew, but then this started to grow more. And it just kind of took over after a while. And so it was really a natural progression in some ways because I've seen that happen to other practices. I didn't anticipate it, but eventually I added hormone replacement therapy, nutritional counseling, weight loss management, and all those things that we talk about now as wellness or functional medicine. That wasn't really a term back then. So we actually called it a medi spa, which is not used anymore. I think people say med spa, but that was brand new back in 2005. But that's how it happened. It was sort of an organic thing. It wasn't a choice that I made. My patients suggested it.
So, you're one of the first people doing this. That usually entails some challenges and opportunities. Can you talk about some of those challenges? Because it's hard to be starting in surgery and switching to this, even though it is somewhat organic and patients wanted it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so certainly I would start with the opportunity, really, trying to refer them to someone else, but really couldn't find anybody who had that comprehensive package of offerings. So over time, I built that. So I would call this the major challenge. It's expensive to add all of the offerings at once. And unless you can bankroll that, I would advise not purchasing lots of devices that are very expensive, that then require monthly payments. And no matter what the sales rep tells you, that return on investment isn't enough to pay it off in a year. So by the time you get to the point where you might pay it off, the technology has changed. right? And you have to upgrade and replace that. So I think the major challenge with all of that is ensuring that you don't put compromise the practice financially by adding too many services at one time. And there's an educational process too, right? As a venous surgeon or a phlebologist, we're not really we're not trained to do hormone replacement or even necessarily nutrition counseling. I think there should be much, much more of that in the training of all physicians. But it's something that you have to go out and do on your own. So that would be another challenge, I think, is finding the right place to get that education. It's not a weekend course. And then, finding mentors or someone who can allow you to train with them or access them when you have questions or concerns, or you want to, review a patient or a complicated patient with them. And so I would consider, the two greatest challenges would be financial. You got to smartly ramp it up, and then to getting the proper education to do things right, because it's still medicine. It's not a beauty salon. This is still medicine. We still have to know anatomy, we have to know physiology, and we have to know exactly how to manage patients that maybe we didn't get that in our original training in medical school and in residency.
But in the process, you've actually established a national company. And there, again, are challenges with doing that and risks. How did you manage all of that? I mean, you have
Ah,
multiple sites, and and you have multiple products. How did you manage that growth?
right, yes. So it's a lot of work. But as physicians, especially as surgeons, we're not afraid of work. We chose that path because we're hard workers. So I scaled my original practice, which was in Asheville, North Carolina, and still is. And over time, I, developed the processes and the systems to efficiently run that, and then replicated that in four other states, actually, and became medical director primarily, and hired the right people and had them trained properly. It's still a lot of work, but that occurred over the process of many years. The new company that I started just last year is a product company, but it's an active biologic. It's a high science product, and that has been in process for about 8 years now. As I was introduced to a stem cell scientist who's probably the most renowned in the world, Dr. Hans Kierstead. He started California Stem Cell and developed iVita Biomedical and several other biotech companies. And so I met him, interestingly enough, and many of you I think will relate to this. 8 years ago, I'm in my California office, and a producer who I worked for doing some infomercials in that area approached me and said, "Hey, I know this retired ER doc, Dr. Bob. He knows about this amazing skincare product. He wants to tell you all about it." And I thought, oh boy, here we go. How many skincare products do we need? There are already thousands out there, and it's already a confusing world of skincare. So, but I agreed to meet with Dr. Bob, who then said, "Oh, I need to introduce you to the inventor of this product, Dr. Hans Kierstead." So I met Dr. Kierstead, and 2.5 hours into his discussion with me, I thought, oh my goodness, this fella has really got something that will change our industry permanently in a positive way. I want to be a part of it. So, over the past 8 years, I've been working alongside Dr. Kierstead to clinically evaluate and develop protocols and commercially test this particular active biologic. And then last year, I raised enough money to acquire the IP exclusively with global rights. And so that began the big um, uphill but amazing journey to develop this company and go into production. And I launched a product just about 3 months ago. And so it's actually going really well, and it is changing the world of regenerative aesthetics. Um, it's so I'm excited to tell you a little more about that technology.
Okay, that'd be interesting, especially talking about, again, surgeons and medical doctors. We don't have that type of background. Um, how do you get that type of background? How did you do
Oh,
that without falling flat on your face?
yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I recognized how important and industry changing this technology would be because prior to going to medical school, I worked at the CDC for a period of time in the epidemiology and molecular biology departments. And then I worked in the private sector with a company called Becton Dickinson developing immune assays. In fact, I was on the team of four who patented the solid phase flu A assay. So if you go get a flu A test, that's mine. Well, it's Becton Dickinson's, but I helped develop that. So having that background, I recognize the importance of this stem cell science that is coming into all of medicine now. Really, regenerative medicine is where it's all going. But then starting a new company that is a product oriented company, even though we're calling this a cosmetic product, it certainly has medical application as well. And I I secured many advisors and mentors, and I've hired a really amazing team of experienced professionals in that industry who have taken products from startup to commercialization and on to acquisition, which of course is the end goal for most companies like mine. So I'm actually meeting tonight one of my advisors right after this to discuss some aspects of fundraising, which is an ongoing process with most companies like this. Yeah.
So I have to say congratulations. Now you talked a little bit about the future. Where do you head with all of these different areas that you've gone from a small little practice in Nashville and to multiple sites all around the country and now developing your own product? What's the next step?
Oh my goodness, many, many next steps. I still own my practices and I'm still a medical director. I've got wonderful people who work with me and for me. So that's a really critical part of really running any medical practice. I think it's the right people. It's about the people. And so I still meet with them regularly, albeit virtually most of the time these days. And so that I manage sort of because I've already got those systems and standard operating procedures in place and have for many years. And but with the new company, um, that is that keeps me very busy traveling and traveling to investors, to contract manufacturers, to 3PLs, and to advisors, and uh, and then what are the rest of that question am I missing now?
Where you're headed next?
Oh,
Because
we're
this is
heading
really
next.
exciting.
So
You
it
have
is
a
really
lot of great opportunities here, and I think we got a lot to learn.
right, right. So what's next with the new company is adding accounts who are resellers of my particular product, finding certain researchers who are interested in doing some of the more medical research. And I've had quite a few now approach me because we've gained a lot of national recognition. So I'm having lots of not just key opinion leaders, but research scientists reach out. So developing various applications and certain protocols around those applications then will lead to ultimately uh, either big pharma or big beauty coming in and saying, all right, we're ready to take over once the company has a certain value And then hopefully I stay on as an advisor for a period of time, and then I move on to the next thing. And whatever that next thing is, I'm in my 60s now. So what I'd like to do is not be obligated to a particular company or various practices, and take my abilities out into the world to help mentor others, and to also get more involved in charitable work. So those are my end goals.
You've had quite a lot of successes. I'm sure you've had some tribulations all along the way also, um, but you really helped light the path and show people how they can really expand into this field. I think it's a really exciting field. Stem cells is clearly something that we're all interested in, sometimes peripherally, sometimes hands-on. So congratulations. Looking forward to hearing about some of your new products that are coming out and some of your new adventures. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing some of your past, present, and future with us. I think we've really learned quite a bit.
Good. I hope so. And thank you for having me on. It's been my pleasure.